What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? What's good, my people? What's good? I know it's a little dark. A couple things I want to talk about today. First of all praises to the Most High God. All praises. Let me get that out the way. First and foremost, all praises to the Most High God. Kev, what's good, man? Hey, call me later, bro. Call me later. Couple things I want to talk about, man. Um, that I haven't been able to really talk about lately. And I appreciate you guys for clocking in, especially Miss Auntie B in the building, little bro Kev, everybody in the building. Um, it's a couple things I want to talk about. Um, Especially considering the fact that it's almost a year since Nipsey got killed, supposedly, and a lot of things that haven't been discussed. So, first thing that I want to talk about, I'm not gonna wait too long today like I normally do. Let me get it out the way again. All praises to the Most High God. So we ain't got to go through that for 20 minutes. Got that out the way. All right, so let's get to this. So I was listening, and y'all know I always tell y'all to use your mind and not your eyes. You'll learn a lot if you use your mind in the name and not your eyes. Tony P, what's up, baby? If you use your mind and not your eyes. Your mind. Keita G, what's up, baby? And not your eyes. I see somebody named Juice Rock or something like that. Um, Lisa, what's up? Yeah, I see it, Lisa. Terry Mitchell, what's up? Or Terry Michael, what's up? So, I want to talk about a couple things tonight that I haven't spoken about. First of all, y'all know how I feel about Eric Holder. It's no secret. It's no indifferential feeling that I have. Y'all know how I feel in regard to Eric Holder, in regard to the Nipsey Hussle case. If we don't know how I feel, let me get out the way now. I feel like Eric Holder is a patsy. I've said that since the first day I came on here in August. Never changed my direction. Let me tell you why I say that. And God bless those who have been bringing this information lately, because it looks like Eric is supposedly trying to talk. Supposedly, I listened to an interview a couple of days ago on a page that's on YouTube, whereas he called in, or they called him, or he called in on a phone card. Now, let me tell you something, y'all. I always tell y'all to use your ears. Use your ears and not your eyes. Use your ears and your eyes, not just your eyes. Use your ears and your eyes. But but even if your eyes don't work, use your ears first. Listen. And on this phone call, brief as it was, you would think that somebody who was in jail for murder, that's under lock and key 24 hours a day, would have said a little bit more than what he said. Regardless if he can't talk about a lot of things, I believe that in all things, if I have 5 minutes to speak on my behalf and I can't talk about everything that I need to talk about, at least I'm going to tell you that I'm innocent. There's nothing else I need to tell you. I want to tell you I'm innocent. Not one time did Eric Holder ever say during this conversation that I'm innocent of killing Nipsey Hussle. Never said that. He never even said he was a patsy. So this makes me wonder what the situation is and how they have him. Because obviously this man is not in a good state of mind. He sounded like he was just ready for the trial to be over. He sounded like a dude who, he didn't sound like he was tired. He didn't sound like he was being getting beat down and beat up. And anybody in Los Angeles County Jail for murder of the most beloved person in that city, there's no way that you would still be alive after a year without these people putting you in protective custody and taking care of you 24 hours a day. There's no way that you could tell me. So I heard his voice myself. Now, you can always talk about what people say. You always talk about what people, their interviews with the person. He said this, he said that, he said that. I heard his voice for myself on a couple calls where he had, I guess they had put money on the books for him to call. Now, one time did the man known as Eric Holder proclaim that he was innocent, nor that we need to just not that the people need to listen to the evidence or none of that. That an innocent man would do if he had, hell, if he had 20 seconds, not 5 minutes, 20 seconds, 20 seconds. If you have 5 seconds, you're gonna be like, yo, I didn't do this shit. Yo, somebody, please, you know, you're gonna plead your case while you have a moment to talk to everybody, right? Um, it's no way that you on trial for your life for murder in the most blood and crip infested city in the world, and you killed the most popular crip, excuse me, in Los Angeles, and you just okay, everything good, nothing. Uh, Man, we'll talk when the trial over. God, yeah, no doubt, man, for sure, for sure. I'm gonna give you that interview. What? Nah, bruh, something ain't right, bro. Something ain't right, man. Something is not right, and that even instills more to me than that. This is more bullshit than ever. Secondarily, I've been noticing a lot more people have been saying that the video was fake, which we've been saying since day one. That it looked fake, that it looked staged. A lot more people have started to say that. A lot more people in higher positions have started to say that the entire thing looks staged and fake. Um, Another thing you have to question about is why they have not begun to move on the acquisition of the property. Now, this is one of the most prime pieces of real estate in Los Angeles right now, in conjunction with Hyde Park development, the train that's coming through, and the new stadium. But then when you come to the corner of Slauson and Crenshaw, you have an empty building surrounded by a scaffold with nothing going on. Now, what doesn't make sense is all of those buildings were occupied when Nipsey was killed. Master Burger has been there for years upon years, upon years, upon years, upon years of time, right? Master Burger has been there for years. Years. You telling me that Master Burger couldn't have stayed open? The T-Mobile store couldn't have stayed open? Self-sufficient until they found a new landlord? So, um, I don't understand how they can explain to me that things are in place for all of this stuff that they said that was going to take place in regard to the Nipsey Hussle building and the memorial there and all of that, and they haven't built one brick, right? That's two things that I brought up. Two things. It's been a year. Not one brick, not one, nothing. The only thing that they've managed to do is put up a fence and to put something around it so you can't see inside. They had the all money in truck removed. They had the Jaguar removed from the property. Um, exactly. So that's the next thing you read my mind. So I look back to a video. I look back to a video when Nip opened this place and they did the block party, and you can tell that the Los Angeles Police Department was not happy at all with the fact that that property had been not given, but had been won by them and their people. I believe truly in my heart, without a shadow of my doubt, that through the years, looking at all the things that Nipsey Hussle had been through, not just in conjunction with other gangs, because if you look at other gangs with Nipsey, they corresponded He was able to pull up anywhere he wanted to, anytime he wanted to. I would never believe that another gang member outside of the 60s in Los Angeles killed Nipsey Hussle. I do believe that the biggest gang in Los Angeles killed Nipsey Hussle. And the biggest gang that I can call is the Los Angeles Police Department. They hated him. They hated his brother. They hated the fact that the Rolling 60s had free access to that plaza, which that plaza was prime real estate. They hated the fact that they had acquisition or had come into acquisition of that property by whatever means they came into it. They were totally upset. I've seen the documentation on who owns the property. I know that Black Sam is in, not Black Sam. I know that David Gross and the partnership that he works for owns that property, which was never not, which truthfully, guys, that was never up for discussion. Nipsey never said that he was the only person that owned the building. Sam told you the story. Sam told you they didn't have the money. It's really not up for discussion. It's an open topic that Sam and Nip talked about. Sam specifically said the property management people who owned it came to them, told them they had received another letter, said, well, y'all gotta go, but here's another option for you. If y'all can buy the property, you can stay, obviously. Can you come up with this 1.5 million or whatever the dollar amount was for us not to have to go through this? Black Sam Nip went down the line of people who they knew. They didn't have the money themselves because Nip's money is tied up. He couldn't go to Atlantic to get the money because he had already received a signing bonus on his record label, on his record deal. So he had no money there. He was tied up there. Nip Victory Lap was about to come out, so he had not created new residuals that he could borrow against. All Money In, they had got the money for that already, which was being redistributed. So Nip money was tied up into whatever he had it tied up into. Black Sam never had equitable money because he couldn't show his funds because his money is not legitimate. His money is black market. So there's no way that he could come out of the woodwork with $1.5 million and come up and go to the city of Los Angeles to pay for this property and it be legitimate. There's no way that could happen. So they had to go to whoever they went to for help. They went to David Gross, who was a friend of Nipsey and their family, and that girl Karen Civil. They was like, yo, I need to get this property, yo. I need y'all to get this and I need y'all to make us, whereas we still in the game, but if our names is on there, we're gonna be beefing. So we make it into a lot that it's not, right? Um Hold on, y'all. Give me a second because I've been talking. I haven't had a chance to read. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna answer a couple of questions real quick. That would be one of the worst things that they could ever do, Juice Rock. Even if they wanted to tear it down now, they can't tear it down because the people are not gonna have that. It doesn't make sense. I don't believe that David Gross is a friend of me. I think we made David Gross a friend of me. I don't think so. I think David Gross is a black man who has connections. I think that he befriended Nip because he saw what Nip could do, and I think Nip befriended him because Nip saw what he could do. Period. It wasn't like his financial people that he know is worth way more money than the people that Nip know. The warehouse that they own a couple blocks away, if they really wanted to, they could have built the marathon there and set up shop there. So it don't make sense to hold on to that corner and kill Nipsey for that corner. If a block up the road or a block and a half up the road, they already have a building, a warehouse, and a retail location like this attached to this building. If y'all don't believe me, go look it up. Look up the property where they show what the address is for this business people or this conglomerate that bought the Marathon store so that Nipsey and them could purchase it. Go look up the name of the company and look at the address for the company. It's a warehouse district a block and a half from where the Marathon store is. That particular building is a warehouse, has a little retail space, all of that, which is right up the street. If they wanted to create the Marathon emblem and resell everything from there, wouldn't it have made more sense for Nip to move there to avoid the trouble of the LAPD? They have to reopen the shop, Fula. It doesn't make sense. They have to reopen it. It doesn't make sense because then they would be lying, and then that means they would have to backtrack on everything that they said. So no, that's not going. I don't believe that's the case. They're going to have to open the shop in some form or fashion, whether it be like a boutique or something, but it has to be there because it's part of the fabric of that property. Period. It has to be in there because that's part of the vision that David Gross and Nip spoke about, was that the Marathon store would be in there in some form or fashion and that they would have retail in that building. I'd be willing to bet every dollar I have that it's going to be on Slauson and Crenshaw because they've already, let me put it to you like this. They've already run their mouth about the project, and the people, the only reason they haven't really bit them people's heads off is because they've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And so far, not even a brick has been moved. So if something gets changed with that plan and they try to move Nipsey's memory off of that corner, it's not going to be good for it's not going to be good for that area. And that's one of the reasons why the demographic is not going to allow that to happen. That's one of the things that these people have been holding on. That's all that these people have been holding on to, is the fact that Nipsey will be memorialized in some manner there. And they are not going to let that property go to some people who, they will tear that property down and it will turn into, nobody will ever be able to put a property there again if they go behind those people's back. I'm telling y'all right now, they will never ever be able to go beyond. They will never be able to go um, and build anything else there that doesn't have to do with Nipsey Hussle, ever, unless they make it about Nipsey Hussle, unless they sell the property and whoever comes in that property and says they're going to build it with Nipsey Hussle's name and something in that property with him, then it's never going to work. You're not going to bring, I don't care what you say, you're not going to bring something like that into the Rolling 60s area and that property is going to work. There's no physical way that you tell me that that's going to happen. That is a massive Rolling 60 gang area, as we all know. And you're not all of a sudden going to turn this area after a year into Beverly Hills. These people still have a firm control over their area. That gang is still in control of that area, whether or not we want to believe it or not, regardless if they're at the Marathon every day. I believe that you're from the area, and I believe that it's different. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, you got to use your common sense. And like I said, I'm not here to keep arguing with you. Fool out, you believe what you want to believe, like you said. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna be done with this after I say this because I'm not going to keep going back and forth. Um, a lot of them are getting washed, but at the same time, I told y'all a long time ago. I told y'all a long time ago that they were going to do something different than the original plan. And of course, the Rolling 60s are getting washed. Of course, the 40s is getting washed. Of course, so and so's is getting washed. Because LA is cracking down because LA is tired of the stigma of gang violence holding up their money. You understand? Of course they are. They're tired of people not being able to to come in and pay a good wage for a property that they should be able to sell for $8 million. But they can't because of gangbanging. Gangbanging is not ever going to go away. They'll move it from that area is going to go somewhere else, and it's going to get worse somewhere else. There's no way you can ever remove Nipsey Hussle from Crenshaw and Slauson. The people are not going to allow Nipsey to be removed from um, it's not. They're not going to allow it to happen. You can believe what you want to believe, and we'll just say we're gonna both chalk it up to what we believe, because we're not. Neither one of us is gonna be proven right until the new building is built. Now, I will say this: those buildings that are there now are probably going to be total, because they need to get rid of every shred of what was there so that they can build it over in a better way. So all that evidence that's in those buildings, from the barbershop to the store, all of that has to be destroyed. And then they can go in, once they get all of that stuff out of there legally. Um, the reason why they shut that building down is because they didn't want nobody going in and out of there. And the story coming out about what really happened. And nobody's been in that building since because of that reason. So I do believe at the end of the day, yeah, it's gonna get worse. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, bro. You don't have to listen to what I'm saying. Just look at what's going on. The proof is in the pudding. If they come down on the 60s there, in those $500,000 houses that's on 60th Street, Bryanhurst, all up and down in there, if they start coming down on those 60s that live in those areas for whatever reason, you got to remember a lot of them live with family members, meaning that those family members own those houses that live there, pay taxes to that property. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to be no easy win for them to just take that property over. Um, yeah, the streets always gonna know. The streets know better than anybody else at the end of the day. But what I'm saying to you is the streets is not going to allow that property at Crenshaw and Slauson to not be in the name of Nipsey Hussle. They would never, ever, ever be able to fly. Ever. That would never be able to fly. Another thing I wanted to talk about is I want to understand why Live Nation is a part of or executive producing the Nipsey Hussle documentary, along with the family and the director that they chose, and then now Netflix, who won the right to air it once it's done. Now, I've heard a lot of stories throughout the last year about Live Nation, Roc Nation, all of these different entities. And I know what Roc Nation is. I know what Live Nation is. I know what Tidal is. All of these are entities for whatever purpose they're for. Tidal is a streaming platform. Roc Nation is like a label or that kind of entertainment platform to sign artists to. It's like an umbrella for business, just like Rockefeller Records, just like anything else. So Roc Nation is that for Jay-Z and his business partner. Live Nation is the touring and publicity aspect of the umbrella for Jay-Z. So Live Nation is the executive producer of the Nipsey Hussle documentary that's going to be coming out. Now, well, I'm not going to call them Rat Nation. I don't know about that. I know that Jay-Z. Thank you, Juice Rock. I know that already. Thank you, but I appreciate your help. I would like to understand why they are the executive producer. There's a reason why I'm asking that, and for those who know what an executive producer is, then you can chime in with me on why I'm asking that question. The executive producer is going to get the most of the royalty down the road. So if I make my, like right now, if I put out a book and the book becomes a movie, and they say, well, who do you want? They're trying to set up points for me and all of that. And they're like, who do you want to be the executive producer? And I'm like, well, put my son down as my executive producer because I want the money to live on his name when I'm gone. Like Nas did for Illmatic with his daughter. His daughter is the executive producer of Illmatic, even though she was like 4 years old when he did the album, or 3 years old. He made his baby daughter the executive producer of that album so that she could receive residuals and benefits her whole life, which was brilliant. Um, I don't know because I have never seen, and anybody, seriously, like I always say, y'all, use your mind, your ears, and your eyes. So in this case, you're going to use your ears because we need to hear, because nobody has seen the contract that Nipsey signed with Live Nation or Rock Nation to tour under their umbrella. Nipsey was not signed to Rock Nation as a label. He was signed to Live Nation. So my understanding is, why would you list these people as the executive producer of a documentary film, whereas they're going to be receiving a king share of the majority of the revenue, along with, I think they named the children. I don't understand how that would make sense. And this is why I say I want to see the contracts that Nipsey signed with Atlantic and also with Live Nation. Live Nation contract would have been for touring, exclusive dates, his payment schedules, all of that, his riders, all of those things that would go along with that, right? So, well, we already know. I mean, nobody in business is your friend. So that's pure, Tony P. That's point blank. Period. Nobody in business is your friend. If you enter in the business with anybody, they automatically become a they become a, what's the word? Not accessory, but they automatically become somebody that's next to you, but that's not your friend. We're here to do business. We're here to get money together. And at the end of the day, we're going to go home to our families, and our relationship will catch up again tomorrow morning when we go to log in this business. Nobody is your in business. If you friends with your business partner, you're going to fail. Unless that person is your wife or your husband. Other than that, you failing because you can't be friends with a business partner. They can be your associate. Exactly, Lisa. Thank you. But if you're good friends with your business partner, you're going to get robbed. Just like Reggie would, damn, number 92, he trusted his friend. He got robbed in business. Look back at history. Everybody who trusted their friends as their accountants, all of these things, they got robbed. They got robbed. It's just point blank, period. You can't trust people to handle your money if you're friends with them, because they take certain liberties that are not available to people who would not be your friend. And that's just point blank, period. Um, I got that out. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, shout out to let me get this out the way, guys. So shout out to my moderator, um, my friend, the homie, Auntie B's house. Y'all make sure when y'all leave this live, y'all go follow her immediately. Um, Fill her page up. Check out her content. She been over here with me since like the first day I came on here in August. Always been a good ear. Um, Gave good information. I might not always agree with everything that she says. She might not always agree with everything that I say. But at the end of a conversation, we always come to some kind of impasse, and we always get along. And that's what matters. Um, I don't take YouTube personally. When I hang up my phone, and come off of here, I don't go to sleep thinking about YouTube. So, uh, I try to look at that. Yeah, she got a page now, so make sure you click on it. You just click on her name, Tony P, and go to her page. That's all. She right below you. Click on Auntie B's house. That's right. At the end of the day, you don't have to agree with everything that somebody says, but you can nod your head and at least acknowledge what they're saying. And sometimes it might make sense. Sometimes it might not. A lot of times it makes sense what we talk about. Sometimes I'll be like, I don't know about that. And I'll tell her, I don't know about no one. And at the end of the day, we agree to disagree and we keep it moving. But one thing we don't like, neither one of us like, is that Fraggle Rock looking bitch. One thing neither one of us like is the Fraggle Rock looking bitch. And I hope she hear me. Because I tried to give her a chance to be friends. And I said I wasn't going to bring her name up, so don't bring her name up. I'm just making that known that that's something that we share in common. No need to have a full discussion. But yeah, y'all go ahead and, on my word, y'all go ahead and click over there and blow her up, blow her page up, give her that love, help her page get big enough so it can be monetized. And let's get her page blowed up so her content can get out there so she can start doing her EVP work that she want to do. Looking forward to the interviews with different people. Really need somebody to explain to her how to add in the phone calls. So out of all the people that I got on my live, somebody should be able to explain to her how to do the phone calls where people can call into your page and things of that nature, because she has a vision that she wants to do some things like that. So Bridget from Virginia, I didn't see you on there, love. How you doing? I'm sorry. I would have acknowledged you sooner. You have a great night too, dear. Sorry about that. I'm always gonna read you up there. I didn't see you. Big Red 69. I thought you said you did EVP. I'm sorry. My bad. That's my fault. I will say this, as far as I know, she only got one page. So she ain't gonna be coming on your page with 13 different pages, pretending to be somebody else. Go ahead and make her your moderator. Should I not have said EVP? Did I say something funny? J Blaze, I ain't worried about no coronavirus. It's gonna be just like when I caught Ebola a couple years ago. Notice that silence after I said that? Yeah, exactly. I'm not worried about that. They always bring up some kind of big disease whenever they got something going on in another country. It just so happens that the elections is going on, and the people, they want them scared so they're not coming out. Y'all gotta start using y'all brains, man. Please use your brain. Tony P, you gotta learn to laugh, man. I said, remember when I had Ebola, and then I went blank because I didn't never have Ebola because nobody in this country had Ebola. Of course, it's financial. It's always financial. All you gotta do is look back at the history of the CDC. It's always financial. Anytime they need to disrupt or control a specific situation, they bring up the biggest diseases and the biggest things that scare people. So guess what, guys? In the next few weeks, What are the people supposed to be doing? They're supposed to be going out to vote, right? Think about what I'm saying. Listen to me. We're supposed to be going out to vote. One thing about voting is we all go out in droves. So if there is a potential virus, oh, it's starting to make sense now, right? If there is a potential virus in the machines, in the atmosphere of the place where you go vote, guess what we're not going to go do? Guess who that benefits? Yeah, you'll never get the Federal Reserve. That'll never happen. Never happen. Never happen. Big red. Never happen, brother. Never happen. I understand you, and we can talk about that if you want, because I can explain. Big Red, if you want to talk about that part, I can explain why he'll never be able to do that, but you let me know if you want to go deeper. I can talk about it if you want. Not trying to say you're not right without giving you an explanation, but that's a whole different topic that I'm not on right now. All right, so let's talk about it. So everybody listen, we're not talking about the coronavirus right now. We're going to deal with the question that was posed, or the comment that was posed by Big Red 69 was that Donald Trump, meaning that Trump, is going after the Federal Reserve. Pay attention. I said that would never ever happen. Here's why that would never happen. The Federal Reserve is controlled by, and please, you can do your research all you want. Federal Reserve is controlled by the 1% of the people that you always hear about. The 1% is a conglomerate of families that you never ever see, that you never ever hear from, but they continue to be the richest people in the world. One of the families is the Rothschilds, who own the banking, most of the federal banking system, and most of the national banking systems across the globe. These are the people that fund countries, and they fund wars, and they fund everything pretty much that's billion and trillion. So anybody that need $1 billion tomorrow, that's where you go to get money from. Okay, they meet a lot sooner than every 4 years. They make you think they only meet every 4 years. The how they do it in the eyes of right in our faces is that they come on, y'all, slow down for a minute so I can deal with it. Let me deal with this, please. So the Rockefellers are on there. The Carnegies used to be on there. I don't believe that they may be on there anymore. But I do know that the Vanderbilts are no longer on there. They were on there. As y'all know, Anderson Cooper is a Vanderbilt, but he chose to drop the family name. Yes, they are Jews. I don't know about the Ashkenazi Jews or Nazi Jews. I don't know what that means, but I don't know about that. But they are Jews, most of them. I agree with you there. They started out a lot of them in the ghettos overseas, and built their power from there, and then expanded across the globe. So one of the major reasons why Donald Trump or nobody else will ever be able to get power of the Federal Reserve is because the Federal Reserve is an entity in itself. The Federal Reserve has the right to print its own money. The United States of America does not have the right to print money, nor can the United States of America ever print money again without the consent of the Federal Reserve. Okay? Well, I don't believe that, Keita. I don't think that was the case. I think that it was a part A and a part two, a part B to that. I think that I don't think he wanted to be. I think that he wanted to be a regular person, and I think that's why that happened. So it's a lot to that. Um, Donald Trump would not be smart to say that ever again out of his mouth, because JFK said that one time, and he ended up dead. JFK told the Federal Reserve that he was about to start putting the gold standard back in the United States. And what that meant was that all the money was about to be backed up. Every dollar that the United States was about to start printing its own money again. just as what John F. Kennedy was about to do before he was murdered. John F. Kennedy told Congress, or made a statement to Congress, that he was interested in putting the United States of America back on the gold standard, whereas we were going to start backing our dollars that we print to a gold bar, or a equitable resource that we could count on. The Federal Reserve prints money that has nothing backing it, if you understand. Exactly. Exactly. Trump is not never going to tell us the truth about the Federal Reserve because he's one of the 1%. Trust me, the Illuminati does not allow billionaires to be a part of this, uh, you know, to be a part of this group if they do not play by the rules. If you do your research on the Federal Reserve, you'll find out that they outsmarted the United States government in 1913. You said you wanted to talk about it. Let's go deeper. So let's go deeper. Sammy Sam, what's up, baby girl? You said you wanted to talk about it, Big Sam. I mean, Big Red. So let's go deeper. How you doing, Miss Joyce? Kitty G. Um, so let's go deeper. So in 1913, what's up, Miss Rebecca? Was the year that the takeover began. They waited till a break in Congress, whereas they passed the Federal Reserve Act, which meant that they gave the power to print all United States funding and the backing of all funding to the Federal Reserve, therefore giving the power of the dollar bill to the Federal Reserve. The second part of that, the second part of that is when these people were brilliant. This was in 1913. In 1913, when they did the Federal Reserve Act, a they also created the CIA. I'm sorry, not the CIA. They also created the Secret Service. No, they also created the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and they also created the League. Listen to what I'm saying. They also, in the same documentation that they created the Federal Reserve Act, they also created the CIA. Is either the CIA or the FBI. I believe it was the CIA. The CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency, and they also created something called the League of B'nai B'rith. Have y'all ever heard of that before? Clock in with me if y'all can hear me. Let me know y'all hear me because I'm trying to get some words out there, and my phone might not be um, saying. So if y'all can understand what I'm saying, please say yes or no. Anybody can chime in, it's fine. The League of B'nai B'rith is one meaning that you can hear me. I'm hoping. All right. So what I said was, and this goes back to who said something with Nat? Nat, what did you say? No, they didn't still go for the Middle East. We're gonna deal with that as well. I'm asking y'all to stay with me because I don't want to have 3,000 conversations and we got to keep coming back to the same conversation. So please stay with me, y'all. So in 1913, and you can do this research for yourself, and this is mostly for Big Red because you brought this subject up. So out of anybody else on this live, I would need you to stay here with me because you brought the question up. So I'm answering your question. 1913 was when all this started. That's right. The League of B'nai B'rith. So here's what y'all don't understand. They started the Federal Reserve Act the same year that they started the CIA and the League of B'nai B'rith. Now, the League of B'nai B'rith is a Jewish organization. Do your research on that when you get time. Why would you need a Jewish organization set up at the same time that you start the Federal Reserve? I understand why you set up the CIA because you need something to back up your Federal Reserve people. But why the League of B'nai B'rith? Do your research on it. It's spelled B apostrophe NAI and then B'rith B apostrophe RITH. The League of B'nai B'rith. That was started the same year in the same paperwork and documentation as the Federal Reserve Act. Here's the reason why we will never ever be able to, nobody will ever be able to remove the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve Act was an act by Congress, meaning that you have to have the House, you have to have the Senate, and then more than likely, considering how old this bill is, I mean how old this law is now, they're gonna keep pushing it because you're gonna have people who are gonna be getting paid off. It's gonna go all the way uh, to the Supreme Court, and as we know, the Supreme Court is right now a majority of Republicans, so that's not gonna work for our behalf. So let's go back to point A. Big Red, you said that Donald Trump wants to take over the Federal Reserve. It'll never happen. Donald Trump, when y'all see the Federal Reserve come to Congress, it's because they're doing them a favor. What happens is the congressmen pick up the phone. They say, we would like for you to come and address us in regard to how you're printing money. And we want to know why you've just put a 3% interest rate on the money that you printed and you're charging the American people. So they make it look like they're in charge of the Federal Reserve, when in reality, they are just basically having the Federal Reserve come and explain to the American people shit that they can't even explain, because they're getting the information at the same time we getting information. Did you know? Here's something else for you. That at the time of President Obama's leaving, that there was a female president of. Did you know that the person who was over the Federal Reserve is also called president? Did y'all know that? And when Barack Obama was president, it was a female, white woman, who was president. The gentleman's name, who was the person, the director of the Federal Reserve, that was that old weird looking guy with the funny looking glasses. I can't remember his name, but it's somebody else now, because I think he stepped down. So he's part of that whole process now, because once he stepped down, he moved over because he knows all the secrets. Um, I forget what his name. Damn, it was just on the tip of my tongue. Ah, I can't think of his name. The guy who is the director of the Federal Reserve. He's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. He was the one that answers questions. He's basically like the CEO of the. Okay, that's why I said, let me know if y'all can't hear me. So let me get back to what I was saying. So did y'all know that the Federal Reserve has more power in the United States than the president does? Did y'all know that the Federal Reserve can immediately input money into the system? The Federal Reserve can also make it a point where they pull all the money away from the system at any point in time that they feel like it. Any point in time they feel like they could wake up tomorrow and raise inflation by 10 points. But it doesn't behoove them to do that, because if you bankrupt our country, then you have no more money. So that wouldn't behoove them to do that for themselves. But they can if they chose to. I hope y'all can hear me. If y'all can't, fine. Let me know. I'm still on it, Big Red. Stay with me. So in 1913, all of these things took place. Richard Nixon comes along in 1956, 1957, I believe it was. Now, at this time, the United States of America, even though the Federal Reserve was doing all what they were doing, because they were in charge of printing America's money, they hadn't done a full takeover yet. They had taken over by law, but they hadn't done a takeover yet, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, they didn't come in and say, this is what we doing. Bam, fuck out of here, until the 50s. The 50s was when they worked with President Nixon to remove the United States from the gold standard. Y'all don't believe me? Look it up for yourself. Richard Nixon was who took us off of the silver and gold standard. And it took him about a day to realize that he wasn't going to put us back on there, because I'm guessing he must have got a series of phone calls that basically told him, you'd be better off going to Roswell looking at the aliens than you would messing with the Federal Reserve. And you never heard anything else from Richard Nixon about dealing with the gold or the silver. And boom. Um, John F. Kennedy messed up because he was trying to be the corporate crime buster, and he was trying to fight all these different entities. And he was going to take on the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve was not trying to hear that. They were not going to give their power, right? It doesn't matter I see what you post. It doesn't matter who gets appointed to the Federal Reserve. We send somebody to the Federal Reserve as a token so that the people feel comfortable. And when they look at the Federal Reserve, that they can say, hey, we got somebody there that appoints to our benefit. Not sure if you understand that, but I'm glad I could explain it to you. Reg from the Wood, um, The Federal Reserve pulled off one of the biggest coups ever in the history of American history. Did you guys also know that Washington D.C. is will never ever be a state? That is a district for a reason. Does anybody know why Washington D.C. is a district and never will be a state? Anybody? 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 Chime in. Anybody? Hello, D. Does anybody know why the Washington D.C. will never ever be a state? I don't want to be the only one talking, so if y'all wouldn't mind, somebody help me out. Does anybody know why Washington D.C. will never ever be a state? Hello. I can go if y'all just want to talk to each other. Anybody know why Washington D.C. will never ever be a state? If nobody knows, that's fine. Fuel, I see you. Anybody else? If somebody else say no, then I'll go in why. Okay, so here's the reason. Washington D.C. is an incorporated district. Anybody that got time while we're talking, if y'all will Google it for me, I appreciate it and post it. I would greatly appreciate it. Washington D.C. was incorporated. It's an incorporated territory. I'm not lying to you. Look it up for yourself. Washington, D.C., I'm going to say this again, is an incorporated territory. So what that means is that that particular place of that particular part of the United States of America is, and it's only, that's why Washington, D.C. will never get no bigger. It's a specific size. It was made to a specific size. And all the purpose of Washington, D.C. is to be the place for business for the United States of America, which is a corporation. The documents of corporation were filed, you can look it up for yourself, as a corporation for the United States being a corporation. Look it up for yourself when you get time. And I don't remember what year, but the documentations were filed. The United States is a corporation. It is not a democracy, as they like to say. It is not a theocracy or whatever ocracy. And it never will be. It's a business. So basically, Donald Trump is our CEO, if you want to be honest. Uh, that's why they do things like, that's why our presidents do things like CEOs. Vice president is a COO. Congress is like your accounting department, or however you want to look at it. In a big company like where I work, you have a accounting department, full accounting department. You have people who checks and balances. You have a legal department that check and balance on your legal stuff. And then you have people who are at the lower end of that do the day-to-day stuff. That would be your regular people, like the front line. So your House of Representatives will be your front line. This thing is deep, people. It's deep. It goes very deep. Um, exactly. So that's why exactly, Geezy. That's why DC is a lot different than other places, especially for different things. But Big Red brought it up earlier that Donald Trump wants to take over the Fed. That would never happen. Donald Trump would be, I don't even want to say that on a video, but it wouldn't be good for him to be talking like that, except to entertain us, because those people don't play those types of games. Here's another thing that we need to talk about as well that has to do with this. Y'all brought up a thing, or Big Red, you brought up a thing that said they meet every 4 years. No, they meet way more often than that, Big Red. Have you ever heard of the G8 summit, or the G7 summit, or the G5 summit, G3, G12? Have y'all ever heard of those? Somebody chime in, please. G12 summit, G7, G5, G8, G somebody summit. Have y'all ever heard of those before? G1, G5, G12. Okay, cool. Um, the purpose of those summits are so that they can meet and discuss world politics, because those are the groups of countries that matter for that particular year. Let me say that again. So if this is a G12 summit, that means 12 major countries are going to be involved in world domination for the next year. And they come together to meet to discuss how it's going to play out. Everything is going to play out for that year. Who's going to benefit, who's not, who we going to call for this, who we going to call for that. We're going to borrow money from this person is going to benefit. We're going to borrow money from this person is going to benefit. It's all a game at the end of the day. It's now the G12 is way bigger than that. It can change every year. It's not always 12. Last year was the G7. The prior year before that, it was the G8 summit. And it's always in a country that the Bilderberg group, hang on, never mind. I'm just going to say this. It's always in a country that is secured for privacy, that is 100%, um, that is 100% secure for privacy. Always in a country, the conference always takes place in a place that they don't have to worry about secrecy, nor do they have to worry about privacy, ever. Some years it's in such and such, some years it's here, some years Brussels, some years it's so and so, Geneva. It's been everywhere. It's never been here. If y'all have noticed, you never heard of the summit being in the United States, and it's for a reason. Um, every year, if you pay attention to the amount of numbers that show up after that G, that's who you know who's going to be involved in world politics for that next year. If it's 12, if it's G12, that's 12 countries. If it's G5, that's 5 countries for the next year. That's going to be in the news, going to be at each other, going to be going back and forth, going to be doing this, doing that. That's how it plays out. They sit down and determine squabbles, fights, uh, treaties, everything, and then they make it look like these countries are warring against each other. And at the end of the day, we see war on TV, but they've already worked out the balances and checks of these situations, and they on to the next thing. We fighting over these streets in these countries, and these folks ain't even think about that shit. They on to other stuff. They done borrowed the money and found a way to pay it back or started paying it back. The banks that they use are, it's all a big scam. It really is. Um, exactly. So if anybody can understand that, um, they can definitely understand world politics and why the coronavirus. Let me get back to the corona. Now I'm gonna bring this back to the coronavirus. Why the coronavirus is a scam. Think about this for a minute, and I'm glad Big Red. Thank you for bringing up that because now it allows me to talk about the coronavirus in a proper way, so y'all can understand where it's coming from. So at the last meeting, whatever the number was, G8, G9, G13, G20, 37, G, whatever it was, they sat down and they came up with the correspondence of what's going on right now for the entire year. The 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 Olympics. Well, let me be quiet, y'all. I almost said something I'm not supposed to be quiet. Cause then y'all gonna be saying I knew some new stuff I ain't know, and how did he know that? And is he the police? Let me keep that to myself. Let me just tell y'all this: the coronavirus is linked to the elections, is linked to the Olympics and the economics of the Olympics. It's linked to the trade agreement with China and Apple and everything coming out of China, which is pretty much every electronic. If you don't understand the global scale of why they're doing this, um, it makes more sense. And I get what y'all saying with population control, but I wouldn't even put it in population control because nobody's dying right now. They're telling you people are dying. So we assume that because they told you people are dying, people are dying. You go on TV, you see people with masks on in China, you assume that that's what's really happening. And I don't give a fuck if they show me a newscast. None of that. That shit ain't real to me, bro. Until I see somebody on my street, you know what I'm saying, getting rushed to the hospital with this bullshit, then boom. I start having a feeling about the coronavirus. But just you saying that somebody's going to the hospital in some remote part of the United States of America, or somebody might have the corona, it's always might fucking have, might have. There's a possible, might have, possible to keep fear in y'all. That's all it is. It's fear. It's controlled fear. That's all it is. Thank you, y'all. I was trying to get to that. It's controlled fear. And they already came up with all of this at the last meeting. It's all but see, even deeper than that, little Kev, even deeper than that, even deeper than that, guys. Whether we expose Illuminati's information, whether we expose Bill Gates, at the end of the day, as long as there exists a center for disease control, there will always be new diseases to be tested. Hear me out. The word, I'm saying this exclusively, tested, administered, and then controlled. Tested, administered, and controlled. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have a CDC. That's all it is. That's all it is. When they really did put these kinds of things out there to kill people, that was during the time when, um, that hasn't happened in our time. Let's just put it that way. The plague, shit like that, that hasn't happened in our time. HIV is manufactured. They could have killed all of us if they wanted to. That's what you call selective killing people. You give it to a specific group of people. They thought it was going to stay in that group of people, and it didn't. It moved over because you had a whole bunch of DL people living two double lives. Then it got into the regular people, and started killing them. Then they had to find another word. That's all it is, guys. Controlled chaos, controlled fear. Agent Orange. Do you know what Agent Orange? Y'all gonna have me on here, man. Y'all gonna have me getting killed. Y'all gonna have me in a field somewhere, getting killed by the government from telling y'all this stuff. I've been reading up on this shit for years. So let me tell y'all how Agent Orange worked. And here's how I believe it worked. If y'all can hear me, say please, so I know y'all out there. And I'm not talking to myself. If y'all can hear me, somebody say yeah. Y'all can hear me, say yeah, please. I'm gonna deal with Agent Orange in a second. Somebody tell me they can hear me, please, so I can keep going. I don't want to keep talking if you can't hear me. All right, cool. Thank you, y'all. All right, so cool. Let me move into Agent Orange. Now we dealt with Federal Reserve, we dealt with the government, we dealt with the gold standard. We didn't did all that in less than 10 minutes because I only been on here an hour, and I started talking about that at 40. But let me deal with Agent Orange because my uncle has Agent Orange right now, and never ever is going to be live a day of his life without Agent Orange. God bless his soul. Um, I want y'all to think about the best type of way. All right, so the United States of America and all these countries deal in, um, what's the word that I want to say? In germ warfare. Does everybody know what germ warfare is? If you know what germ warfare is, somebody, if y'all know what germ warfare is, somebody say I, or just let me know you hear me. Germ warfare, germ warfare, germ warfare. Everybody hear me? Okay, cool. So I'm dealing with Agent Orange now. This is the 70s. Now, if y'all understand germ warfare, you understand that there's two sides to germ warfare. You have a germ, which is something that is created, and then you have it where it's placed into a war zone for the act of killing people, right? Think about it. Now, stay with me for a second, because this is going to make sense. It's not going to make sense at first, but then it's going to make sense. Stay with me. So here in America, we're preparing for war. We know that we're going to be going into the bush to fight an enemy that's really unfightable because they don't have no bases, no nothing. They fight in an underground guerrilla war. So we know that we're sending our troops into fields, into lands that are grassy, into lands that are filled with water, that have male and females there that are there on our side that's helping us. So we have certain bases there that we are going to send our people to, our troops. I want you to think about something for a minute, and you can ask your uncles if this happened. I've already verified this. I know it's true. When you had soldiers that were preparing to go to Vietnam, either the first tour, going back to Vietnam, third tour, whatever the fuck they went, if they was going to Vietnam, they had to be inoculated. Does anybody know what inoculated means? Anybody know what inoculated means? Somebody tell me. Okay, if I'm muffled, tell me if you can hear me now, because I need this to be clear. So the troops had to be, in order to cross the bridge, cross the waters, and to go into China, Japan, Korea, all those places, they had to be inoculated. Does anybody know what inoculated means? Y'all said y'all know what it means? Correct. That means that you. All right, hold on, y'all. They saying they having a problem with my voice. Can you hear me now? Can y'all 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 hear me now? Thank you. All right. So inoculation is when let me say that again, HAVE, meaning that if you don't do this, you can't go. You have to be inoculated. Have to, meaning if you don't get inoculated, you cannot go. Ask any one of your relatives that went to Vietnam if they had to be inoculated with shots to go to Vietnam. Let's get that part out of the way. So everybody had to be, I want to be clear that y'all understand what I'm saying. Nobody boarded a boat, a plane, nowhere other than the president probably to go over there without having an inoculation done. Are we clear on that? Everybody with me say yes, please, because this is very important. Tony P, stay with me, bro. If y'all can hear what I'm saying and y'all understand, stay with me because this is very important to what we're talking about. Okay, so we talked about shots. Yes, y'all understand. Everybody hear me? Cool. All right, so we declared that we had to be inoculated to get on the ships, to get on the boats, the planes, to go to Vietnam. We're not allowed to question what we're being given in the inoculation that we had to have. We just had to have inoculation. They tell you that whatever they gave you is going to keep you safe while you are in the jungles of Vietnam. And because of their temperatures, climates, the jungles, the bugs, all of this, we want to keep you safe. So this inoculation is to protect you while you are in that environment. Is everybody with me? Yes, yes, yes. If you hear me, my uncle has, right now, he has Agent Orange. Everybody hear me. Stay with me, please, because this is very important to why you need to understand the coronavirus and why I tell y'all this is bullshit. So they were given a germ. Thank you, Mom. But don't go too far ahead of me because I need y'all to stay with me. So they were inoculated. They were inoculated. They had to be, and I want y'all to understand again, they had HADTO, had to be inoculated. Everybody, not nobody could get on that boat, plane, nobody, other than a diplomat or president, probably to go over there and do diplomacy. But if you was a warrior fighter, you went over there, you had to be inoculated. In that inoculation, they told you that you needed this to protect you while you were going to be in the Vietnam jungles. They didn't tell you what was in the inoculation. They just told you to trust your government and that we have to give you this shot in your arm. Um, don't move and keep on going once you get your shot. So boom, sign your paper. You leaving on the 5th, you leaving, boom. No questions asked, right? Okay, everybody on point with me so far. Now, so far, I'm inoculated. And I'm on the way to a foreign country and a foreign land that I've never been to before. All they told me is that it's a jungle. There are people there who are fighting against my country. I need to get to this jungle, eradicate this jungle, kill whoever I need to kill, do what I ever need to do, and get back home. Stay with me. So I arrive in Vietnam. What's one of the first things I got to do once I get to Vietnam? Well, what's one of the first things that you would do when you would have gotten there as a soldier once you checked in? Once you check in, what do y'all think one of the first things you would do is? As a soldier, what do you think once you arrived in Vietnam, what would be one of the first things you would do once you got there? Well, you being smart, mama. Come on, auntie. I'm saying other than looking around, because you ain't got a lot of time for that. Once you got there, what would be one of the first things you would have to do? Come on, y'all, check in with me. Let me know y'all in the house with me. Come on. I need some rapid fire tonight. I'm trying to get some information to y'all. All right, cool. Look around, look around. Okay, boom. I'll stay with look around. Okay, get your assignment correct. All right, but deeper than that, Nat Turner. Let me see what y'all typing. All right, so D said get more shots. Go check in at your barracks. Correct. All of those answers are correct. Get a cat. I don't know about catheter shot. C medic. Correct. Find housing and food. Cool. Take a shower. Cool. Think about all the answers that y'all just said. All of the answers that y'all just said are mostly human needs. Now, think about what I said before you left the United States of America. You had to be inoculated. Once you get to Vietnam, now you have to be a soldier and a human being. And the inoculation is going to work towards both of those things. And let me explain how. As a soldier, you are fighting an enemy force in the jungles of the Viet Cong. In the jungle, you're gonna do two things. You're gonna defecate and you're gonna urinate. Cause you're not going to no potty. Where you gonna go? So you pissing on the land and you pooping in the land. Now you got an inoculation in you of shit that you don't even know what's inside your body. Guess what? How about they put? I'm gonna make y'all cry tonight, man. If y'all got family members that was in Vietnam, don't tell nobody I gave y'all information. I've been doing a lot of years of research on my own, looking at shit, and I figured this shit out. I believe that this is the truth. This is my own testimony, and nobody tell me this shit. I put two and two together. So I had to be inoculated to leave the United States. I get to the jungles of Vietnam to fight a warrior that lives underground and in the jungles and the trees. Thank you, Tony P. You figured it out. So, and of course, it's going to be the hierarchy of needs, but we're dealing with basic needs. Taking a shower, defecating, urinating, eating, all of those things involve being involved with your bodily functions having an effect. Now you're in another country. Now you're in a hostile country. Now you're in a country. And hear what I'm saying. So prior to you getting there, now you've been inoculated before you left to go to that country because you had to be. Now you've entered into the jungles of Vietnam. You've settled into your quarters. They've given you your weapons or whatever. Now you've been told with your troops to go out from there to start doing whatever you're doing. You've defecated, you urinated on the property, on the grass, as y'all traveling along the grounds, doing y'all whatever y'all watches, whatever y'all do out there. Y'all are pissing in the ground, y'all are pooping in the ground as y'all go along. This is women too. This is not just the male soldiers. These are the women that's back at the barracks. Because the latrines, they dumped the urine, they dumped the feces. You understand what I'm saying? All of this stuff is we could deal with all the logistics later, but just know that urine and feces was not being dealt with properly, and it was for a reason. All of those indoctrinations, all of those inoculations, and I'm about to deal with part A and part B now. Now we've dealt with part A, which was I've given you the inoculation, which was part A of what I needed to do. Now I need to give you part B of the plan, but I'm not giving it to you. I'm going to put it into effect because you don't need to know. Because if you knew, you wouldn't do it or you wouldn't be a part of it. I need to put you in effect to the game. Here's the game. I sent you over here to be human. I sent you over here to be human specimens. Let me tell you how you're a human specimen. The planes would come above every day and spray DDT, known as Agent Orange. They said it was to get rid of the foliage because the jungles were so thick. Not one time did you ever see a person who was over there tell you that they had lowered foliage to a point where they were able to fight the Viet Cong on a better plane. And you never heard one soldier that went to Vietnam tell you that Agent Orange worked to their benefit, because it wasn't for their benefit. Agent Orange was a chemical reactor to what they had been inoculated with. I don't know if y'all just heard me, but I'm going to say it again. So I inoculated you with part A. And if I ever hear y'all tell somebody else that I said this, I'm telling y'all right now, I'm going to deny it. So the United States of government inoculated us with the drug, or a series of drugs, which is like a host or a part A of a drug, or a part A of a contingent or a contaminant, whatever you want to call it, a contagion. That's the word I'm thinking of. So they gave me part A of a contagion as a shot. But when I arrived there, they had planes spraying part B. So once part B fell on the ground, and I'm walking on this ground, I'm breathing in the fumes from this ground and from this air. That fume, that all of that is coming back into my system. Now going into my system, locking in with the inoculation, coming out of my bladder, coming out of my kidneys, back into the fields of Vietnam. I just told y'all something for real. Just told y'all some of the realest shit ever. And I hope that y'all share it with your uncles in Vietnam. Because I'm giving y'all real shit tonight. And I'm hoping my life will not be, because this is some real shit. You never ever heard anybody talk about this before. And anybody that say they talked about this before is a goddamn liar. Because I did research on this for myself. You never heard Agent Orange being discussed as a contagion. You never heard Agent Orange being discussed as a two-part chemical. You never heard Agent Orange being used as a chemical weapon. You might have heard it being used as chemical warfare, because all you saw was them spraying the planes spraying over the fields. So we were thinking that we just killing their grass and stopping them from being able to eat. No, we don't give a fuck about them. No, we came over here to kill everything. So we done put something in you that we gonna react with once we get you over here, so that every time you pee, every time you defecate, every time you enter into one of their girls, because they know they was sleeping with their women, raping their women. So y'all got to look at the big picture of world domination. These folks sent our people over there for a mission. They wanted us to deploy and demolish the Vietnam. And even though we lost the war, think about this for a minute, y'all. Even though we lost the war, has Vietnam ever risen up again? Has Vietnam ever risen up again after we were over there? Thank you. I'm asking a specific question now. Has Vietnam ever risen up again as an enemy since we've been over there? You know why? Because we didn't win the war, but we won the battle. And the battle was exactly what they wanted to do. They left birth defects, they left disease, they left all kind of shit from that inoculation and from that contagion that they put together. Once you actually did your bodily functions, you kiss a girl, your mouth is open. So you have all of this shit in your body. Now you kiss a female that's from over there, because you know they was fucking them girls. Let's not even play games. Our uncles and fathers and all grandfathers or whoever the fuck went over there, they wasn't just beating their nuts off. Excuse my language if somebody's under 18, but they wasn't just over there just being good soldiers. They was taking over that fucking property and killing folks, and they was in the act of war. And in war, all is fair. So these men are lonely. They are dating these Viet Cong women. They putting their mouth on these women. Now, mind you, they got this inoculation in them that's been activated with the contagion from the air that's been sprayed. These women have it in them, the contagion, because it's been getting sprayed. You have the inoculation in you. You now put that inoculation in them in the form of sperm, or you pee on the ground in the fields, or you defecated in the fields while you were on, whatever. You have contaminated their entire country's water supply, air supply for years to come. You impregnated their women, which put that disease and uh that whole contagion into their people for years to come. So when I tell y'all about the coronavirus and things of that nature, when I tell y'all I'm not worried about it, when I say I'm not worried about it is until I see it physically happening in front of my face, I'm not gonna worry about it. Because if the United States really, really wanted to do something to us, we would have had something done to that effect, and it wouldn't be taking this long. So I'm not gonna keep dealing with this too long because you don't never know who on this page. I already been talking more than I need to be talking, and about stuff I don't need to be talking about. So y'all got a lesson tonight. I hope y'all appreciate it. Anybody that wants to go back um, on this live, I dealt with the Federal Reserve. I dealt with the Bernard Barinth, the League of Bernard Barinth. I dealt with a lot of things um, dealing with the evil side of the United States government. So I'm not going to deal with it again. If you want to hear it, go back through the live and chop it up that way. I hope y'all appreciated it. I appreciated giving it to y'all. If anybody ever tell you they heard Agent Orange explain that way, they're a damn lie. Because I've never in my life heard Agent Orange explain in that aspect. And because I didn't understand what Agent Orange was the reason why I started doing my research. And I started putting two and two together. And I started doing common sense shit. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I had to have shots or I couldn't go. And then when I get over here, y'all spraying shit? Oh, nah, bro. Wait a minute. Hold on. I mean, anybody with common sense could put two and two together and figure out, um, everybody. I mean, you say you've been knowing, but I don't believe that shit. I believe you think that it was during warfare, but not in the manner in which I explained it. Nobody has ever explained uh, Agent Orange to me in that aspect. Nobody. And I'm talking about my uncle came home from Vietnam. I seen the bumps on his back. My uncle had lines of purple and orange bumps on his back. And I was 4 years old, 5 years old, and I used to help put the liniment on his back, and the bumps never busted. They used to irritate the shit out of me. He couldn't even lay on his back when he first came home because the bumps was like so huge that he couldn't even lay on his fucking back. It was like purple and orange shit inside of bumps and it was like lines of them on his back. And then he had like I can't even explain this shit, but it was so scary um that I remember it like it was yesterday, and that was one of the reasons why I started looking into it as a grown up. I wanted to know why or what he was dealing with because now he don't really have that problem no more with the bumps. Now he's just getting like other shit wrong with him as he gets older in age. So I can appreciate the fact that somebody's saying, looking like carrots. How you look like a carrot? I don't understand. Geez, I'm not down with what you're saying. Whereas somebody might have said it was during warfare, but you ain't never heard it explained as a biocontagion. I don't care what you say. Yeah, my uncle has emphysema. All of that shit came from that. That's why they gave him 100% disability to shut him up. My uncle, let me tell y'all something, man. My uncle won't even. He was a paratrooper. My uncle was a paratrooper in the army, like a specialist paratrooper, right? Meaning that he had to jump out of a fucking plane. He got prostate cancer from it. I mean, that's the first time I ever heard that. Yeah, eczema, of course, because the skin is topical. That's why I told you the bumps. Yep. Say word. So guys, I'm gone because I'm feeling a little scary being in a dark room by myself. I'm gonna go into the rest of this house, cut my lights on, make sure ain't nobody looking for me. Yeah, see this had to do a lot with the people who was on the ground. But your father still got inoculated. If he went over there, he got inoculated. Ask him. If he got off a boat to go to Vietnam, he was inoculated. Anybody going into that jungle or in that water, you had to be inoculated before you could leave the United States waters. No matter what service you were in. Marines, Air Force. Air Force probably didn't even go. I'm just messing with you, Air Force. I'm just messing with you. Calm down. A whole bunch of Air Force niggas gonna be on my page now. Yeah, of course. That's what they had to pay them. They couldn't even question that shit. Come home with gigantic bumps on your back that's purple and orange. Yeah, kind of make you, have a claim. Key to G, make sure you add Auntie B's house. And y'all that have logged in lately, make sure y'all go add Auntie B's house, please, as a favor to the brother. I'm out of here, man. I gotta go. I'm tired. I've been talking for too long. I got other shit to do. But good talking to y'all. Hope y'all have a good night. We'll kick it again another time. Appreciate you.